Grab your coffee because today's conversation is not a quiet one. This morning, Catherine Edwards and I are diving into one of the most controversial political series of the year, Bride of Charlie, the multi-part investigation by Candace Owens into Erika Kirk. And let's be honest, this isn't just a media story, it's a movement story. After the tragic unaliving of Charlie Kirk, Erika Kirk stepped into leadership at Turning Point USA, one of the most powerful youth conservative organizations in the country. For many, that transition was unquestioned until Candace said, wait a minute. In Bride of Charlie, Owens pulls at threads. Erika's upbringing, her public narrative, the pageant years, the timeline of her rise, and the broader power structure surrounding her. She presents documents, archived clips, public statements, and she asks whether the story we've been given is the full story or even the true story. And that's when the backlash exploded. Some say that Candace crossed a line. Others say she's doing exactly what media is supposed to do: investigate power, not protect it. So today, Catherine and I are breaking this down calmly, thoughtfully, and hopefully without hysteria. What does Candace actually show? Where does she speculate? Why is the conservative world so divided over this? And what does this moment reveal about loyalty, narrative control, and more importantly, accountability? This isn't about gossip. It's about whether any public figure, no matter how protected, should be beyond scrutiny. If you believe questions are dangerous, this conversation might make you uncomfortable. If you believe questions are necessary, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. And a great big thank you to all of our producers and our Patreons, as well as our Substack donors. Without you guys, we would not be able to do what we do. We thank you so much. We also now have YouTube memberships. Huge thank you to all of our members. Every person who donates to this channel is what keeps this channel going. If you like conspiracies, if you like folklore and urban legends, then you would love our new YouTube membership. Hold on while we let you know what's going on in the YouTube memberships. And if you want to join, hit the join button down below. Have you ever wondered why certain families seem to hold power for centuries? Kings, bankers, political dynasties, bloodlines that rise and fall and sometimes rise again. Inside our YouTube membership, we're diving deep into the world of bloodline conspiracies, the history, the symbolism, the myths, and the facts. We'll explore questions like, is power inherited? Is influence engineered? And how much of what we've been told is history versus narrative. This isn't surface level content. Members get extended deep dives, uncensored discussions, historical breakdowns, and live chats where we connect the dots in real time. We look at royal lineages, elite families, secret societies, and separate documented history from speculation. If you're curious, if you like going beyond the headlines, if you want to think critically about power and legacy, join the channel membership today. Click the join button below, because history isn't just about events. It's about who holds the crown and why. Hello. I forgot we set the back picture to be Erika, and it kind of scared me when we hopped up.
It's scary, yeah, exactly. But, well, we're getting inside her head today, so it could be quite appropriate.
I know, and I'm so excited. I've been like giddy about doing this with you. And you guys, this might be a multi-part episode because there is so much to get into. One of my favorite comments on Candace's feed was I'm paraphrasing, the person was like, man, I really want to piss Candace off so that I know where I come from. Like, so how are you today, Catherine?
I'm really good. The sun's shining. It's been a week of really deep reflection for me. So I think so much of what we're going to be discussing today is really, really appropriate to, I was just going to say about that comment, that's hysterical. So much what we're going to be discussing today is so applicable to the lessons we can learn about what's going on in the world at large and why humans are in such a effed up state at the moment. So, whether you're following this story or not, I think there's going to be so many learning points for all of them.
Absolutely. Chris Nelson, I saw you're absolutely welcome to have your opinions. But my question to you is, you didn't answer my question. My question is it crazy to be questioning things? That's the thing. When we are taught to not question, to just accept, then we're not free. And as Candace did say in one of the episodes, is we were taught to trust the science 6 years ago. That was the motto, right? Trust the science. We didn't trust. We made our decision not to. Most of us did. That was our sovereign right to do so. Now they're telling us not to question TPUSA. Now, myself and Chris Nelson, like, I know Catherine, I think I can speak for Catherine too, because we were texting about this. You would have to be living under a rock to not realize that Erika's behavior is not right. Something is not right with the way that she is behaving. This is not just some widow in mourning. And yes, we question even the questions around here. Absolutely. We always question. And that's the point that I'm making here, is whether you believe Candace or not, to be mad at her for questioning means that you're brainwashed. Like, something has happened in your brainwashing. And I hate to be so blunt about it, but we should always question things. And here is this woman who has not, the whole performance she's given since her husband's brutal assassination has not been normal. I'm sorry, it's just not normal. Is there anything you want to say about that, Catherine, about her?
Yeah, there is. There's quite a lot. First and foremost, I really appreciate the comment, because it's a really important one. And I think it shows how much brainwashing we're all under. And I do not mean that in a bad way at all. Let me finish before you jump in and think I'm just judging. And what I mean about that is we have all been brainwashed. I mean, it's psychological programming everywhere. It's something I've been studying intensely for the last 5 years. We've had many discussions. And when you're saying that it rests on single hearsay or one person's opinion, what that's really clear, Chris, is the fact that you either haven't watched it or you've watched it with a closed mind, where you've made up your opinion to go in, because actually anyone who goes through it says that's not true at all.
No,
now,
it shows evidence
with her, but there's so much evidence in there. We'll be looking at some of it now. And I think
it's not hearsay.
I don't blame Chris for feeling that at all. And again, this isn't condescending. I'm honestly not being condescending to Chris here at all, because look, society has done such a great job on us all that we can all name numerous public figures that their whole life is a lie. And it's so easy to create an identity. I mean, you've only got to look at people like poor Britney Spears and go back to our interview with Kathy O'Brien to see that these tools and techniques have been in existence and used on all of us for ages. And I did an interview that went out this week about the nano that's inside of us and the silicon. But trust me, these headphones, anyone who's wearing an Apple Watch, iPods, there are patents out there. This isn't conspiracy, where these headphones are not just giving information into you, they are reading your brain. And this technology has been there for years. So most of us are being subliminally controlled through all sorts of different areas. I can send you a video to put in the chat. That's major. I think that it's really important just to keep an open mind and take away the personalities and just sort of think, actually, how can I really back up that response? It's absolutely hearsay. You might disagree with her evidence, but you can't say there isn't any. And if you're resorting to comments like that, it either shows you haven't done your research, which there's no reason why you should if it's not of interest, but then don't shut down something that could be critically important, not just for the Charlie Kirk case, but for all the other lies that we've been told by so-called leaders in all of our countries.
And Candace, I'm getting some back. Am I getting okay? Good. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought our sound was going to go out. And Candace, she comes at this calmly, and she brings evidence. She brings the evidence, and that's so it's not hearsay. It's not hearsay. There's evidence to back it. If we were in a court of law in the United States, the evidence that she is presenting would be classified as evidence in the court system, and it is so. The reason why she's gone into this deep dive is because something isn't right. So if Erika wasn't, she lies a lot. We know that she absolutely changes her story and lies a lot. If her behavior wasn't so peculiar, I don't think people would question so much. And actually, she does start off. I want to pull this up, Catherine, because she does start off the very first episode with a tweet. Is it still called? No, it's X, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of this woman. Hold on one second. Wrote I thought it was brilliant. Brilliant. Hold on. I got to find the right page. Hold on. Sorry, guys. What this woman said about why we are all so uncomfortable. And that's one thing, Chris, you can't take away from us. I was very uncomfortable when she first went on stage at Charlie's funeral. I immediately got very uncomfortable. And I know, Catherine, you did too. Todd,
I did, and I've never heard of her or Charlie Kirk before, so it wasn't based on any preconceived ideas. It was just like, whoa.
It was and so this sums it up really well. So I kind of wanted to start the same way Candace started. Because I thought this woman sums it up really, really well of why we all feel uncomfortable, even people who support exactly, Lorene. I couldn't watch it either. Todd even was like, turn it off. And so this woman goes into it. People who support Erika can't even seem to watch her. And here's why. And I think this is such a great place to start. She's saying, this Elizabeth Lane girl is saying, I'm going to be blunt. I've reached the point where I find Erika Kirk deeply disturbing. Not because of rumors or gossip, but because of constant observable patterns of behavior. To be clear, everything I say in this post is my opinion. I'm not claiming this as fact. I'm saying this is what I think Erika Kirk is. I come from the world of acting and modeling. I spent years around social climbers, opportunists, image curators, and people who treat relationships as ladders. And that is why I left that world. Most of these people are shallow and harmless. A few are dangerous. Erika falls into the latter category, not because she is just ambitious, but because of how calculated and performative her emotions appear to be. I believe she may be a psychopath. I do too. I believe she may be a psychopath too. What stands out immediately is the reaction she provokes in people, which is very common with psychopaths. Across the board, including from people who support her publicly, the private reaction is the same. I can't watch her. Not criticism, just physical discomfort. People turn off interviews because the presentation feels artificial to the point of being unbearable. Let me explain. That kind of response does not happen accidentally, and it does not happen often. Research in psychology shows that humans are highly sensitive to emotional incongruence, mismatch between facial expressions, tone, and content. When affect appears simulated rather than genuine, the brain registers it as a threat signal. This activates discomfort and avoidance, even if the person cannot consciously explain why. So many of us felt this way, but we could not explain why we could not watch her. Studies on psychopaths, particularly those building on the work of psychologists like Robert Hare, describe traits such as rehearsed emotional display and shallow affect. These traits can create what observers explain as uncanny interpersonal dynamics. The discomfort arises and people want to shut it off because most people rarely encounter extreme affective mimicry in everyday life. So the brain struggles to categorize what it's detecting. Erika is attractive enough, and she has every tool in her position to sell this organically, except for one thing: emotion. The entire story of what happened could have helped her sell this fully. She really would have been the last person on earth to be a suspect, if not for the FBI's terrible mistakes, TPUSA's lies, and her very fake performance. All right. And so I'm gonna put this down after we get off. I'll put this down below. But she goes into talking about how Erika, obviously, she kind of compares it to the Clintons, how Hillary Clinton targeted Bill Clinton because they've now become a brand, right? The Clintons are a brand, right? And so what we're seeing with Erika is that she's targeted Charlie to become a brand. The Kirks. Elizabeth Lane also goes on to say that you can tell by Erika's past boyfriends that Charlie is actually probably not her type, but she saw opportunity. Now, this is where Candace kind of then goes a little bit deeper, and I think you and I kind of agree. We kind of talked about this. What I think we're seeing is MK Ultra.
And I really want to pick up on that because it's so interesting how all of us make assumptions based on our own belief systems. So Tic-Tac-Toe is saying, what evidence, blah, 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 no evidence that Erika killed her husband. Well, Candace has never said that.
She's never said that. So obviously you've never watched her video.
This is what humans do, is they do 2 + 2 = 5 and make assumptions. So I think this is where, and even when you see the way Bryce and I go through, personally, I feel really sorry from the information I've seen about Erika. I feel highly sorry for her, because anyone who listens to the background information that has been brought up in Candace's presentation is this is not a normal childhood. There's a lot of times when she seems that she's in a different part of her personality. So again, it's making sure that we're being objective, all of us, when we're looking about that. So there's so many things when people are like going into, or Candace is like a woman scorned, or Candace has got her own skeletons in the closet. Well, first and foremost, I'm sure we all have.
Yeah.
But I think the skeletons that Candace is digging out, I think she's been really respectful, because she's not gone into any of her relationships. She's not gone into personal information. But I mean, for goodness sake, her birth date is even up for debate. You know, on all the documents from her so-called parents, if they are her parents, even that's up for debate, say the 22nd. And then she's saying the 20th. So which is it? That's a pretty fundamental issue that keeps coming up time and time again. Even where she's been, the fact that she said she didn't date the whole time. There's so many inconsistencies. And no one, I haven't once seen Candace. It took a long while for Candace to start looking into her, because she really didn't want to. But when all the evidence started pointing in certain events that this might have been a set-up marriage, then it needs to be looking into. So I think it's quite interesting to see. It's like if you ever go to a book club, 10 of you can read the same book and you'll all pick out different points based about when your own biases are.
Right.
We're all going to do that when we're looking at information. And I, for one, am not looking to bring Erika down at all.
I feel sorry for her too.
Yeah.
At this point. And so I'm going to bring this comment back up. So Tic-Tac-Toe, this show you've told on yourself, because Candace has never, in fact, in the last episode, she said, I don't even think, she says she doesn't think Erika had anything to do with Charlie's demise. She says that. So you're obviously listening to people give their opinions instead of watching it for yourself, because if you'd watched the videos for yourself, you would not have made this comment. So we're not going to put words in Candace's mouth. That's not fair. We're not going to put words in her mouth. She's never said she thought Erika had anything to do with Charlie's demise. I, on the other hand, have thought that, if I'm going to be completely honest, Tic-Tac-Toe. So if you want to, I have suspected that. Now, seeing all the evidence, the receipts, everything that Candace has brought, the court filings that Candace has brought forward, I now feel sorry for Erika, because I think she has been MK Ultra'd. And as Candace, and I wrote some stuff that Candace wrote, she said, does Candace know she's lying? Because does Erika know? Erika knows she's lying. Candace says that. Does Erika even? Because there's no debating that she lies. There's little white lies. She changes her history around. She says one thing in one interview and one thing in the other. You can look this up. She is a liar. She lies all the time.
And can I just add to that? They're not little lies where you forget,
No.
If I went out to dinner with Bryce and I ordered an avocado salad and I forgot and it was actually an egg salad, it's not a little lie. They're fundamental things about the whole direction of her life, who she has met, who she hasn't met, etc. But I think that what you just picked out there, that Candace said, that she said she doesn't even know that she's lying, is really crucial. So in all the stuff I've seen, it's really sad that Candace might be controlled opposition, and she's right to question Erika Kirk. Two things are
true. And that's what she said. She said, and one thing that I thought was interesting that she said, I wrote this down. It's almost like the story downloads into her head.
Yeah.
That is MK Ultra. So what she's saying is that she thinks Erika is told, get something downloaded in her head to say, right, that she's not even aware. And as Kathy O'Brien has said, we can't hold people culpable for things that they're doing under mind control. So it does seem like throughout this research, actually, that Candace does appear to have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
That's what I got from it. She comes at it from and in fact, the people that Candace seems more disgusted by are her mother, which we're going to talk about her mother, because I now believe, my opinion, that her mother is actually Lori, the person that we're told is her mother, I think is her handler at this point. We're going to get into it though. Exactly.
I think Forever Free's made a really good point that there have been no legitimate rebuttals from Erika Kirk and TPS, Turning Point USA. Now, of course, you don't have to respond to things that are gossip, right? But if you think it is like that, but equally, the one rebuttal they did make, that some of the team have made, was all about her using a Jewish phrase, not about the fact that her birthday's wrong, that where she's been in what countries, that the links to Romania are very dodgy, the multiple companies her mother's had, the missing it, name none of the really, really important things. And I think, Captain Dobbs has made a really good point. It's almost like she gets a 4 a.m. talking point. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say at the moment, Candace hasn't said that she thinks she's got anything to do. But the whole point about being an investigative journalist is the fact that you're not meant to have an opinion, whether you're a scientist, a journalist, or in life. If you're never prepared to change that opinion, there's nothing open-minded. The whole point is people should change their opinion based on new evidence. And that could go either way. She could get new evidence to show that Erika's a victim.
Yeah.
Which could get more.
Seems like that's where she's kind of going. We have to talk about Erika. We have to talk, but in the very beginning, the first episode, in my opinion, that very first episode, Catherine, I saw a very empathetic, soft side of Candace coming out talking about basically that led me to believe, and this is just my opinion from what she said, that she thinks Erika is a victim of MK Ultra. So should we get into like the kind of overview of the first 2 episodes? Because the first 2 episodes, guys, I mean, she's doing we're on like what, episode 6? Like we're going to probably be talking about this for a long time. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Because and I say this a lot, Catherine, like, I can't stand it when people focus on people's families, because we know so many people born into nefarious families that end up being really good people. I think people should be judged by their own crimes, not by the sins of their father. But with what we're being shown with Erika's family, there's a lot of questions here. And as Candace says, it is almost like Erika is subtly telling us the truth about who she really is. Okay, so I want to say something too that I before we get into it that I think is really kind of comical, because Candace can be funny. She can be funny, and she says they keep pulling in Charlie's ghost, right, to make Charlie like this is something Charlie would have proved up. And I wrote, some people are worth more dead than alive. Yeah, we see this with artists all the time, right? The minute they're gone, their music, their art, all of a sudden becomes super. So at this point, that's this is kind of like this Christian enterprise that they're working with. And I want to focus on that too, because we're going to talk a little bit about A Wrinkle in Time as well, and Madeline Illingel with the Tesseract schools. You guys, there is a great, before we get into it, if you want to learn more about the Christian enterprise, there's a great podcast. I love this channel. I'm bad about this sometimes. I don't know the channel name, but I love the channel. And it's called, it's Julian Dory, The Vatican, Demons, and the Creepiest Pastors in America. Now, in this podcast on his channel, there are some things I will say that his guest gets wrong about Constantine, but the overall gist of what he's saying is he's talking about the business of evangelicalism. And that is exactly what we're seeing, in my opinion, with TP USA. This is a business of evangelicalism, and it has nothing. And I will actually, you guys, I will put a link to that video in the chat so you guys can watch it when you want to. There is a business. And he brought a good point that what we believe is doctrine in religion is actually not doctrine, it's cultural. And so that is what I believe TP USA is playing on. Like my mother, right when this happened, when Charlie, the funeral happened, my mother was actually upset that I was skeptical of Erika Kirk, because she's like, oh, she's a good Christian, it's fine. And my mother, just now watching Candace's series, has now admitted that something's wrong with Erika. So we have this thing, and I don't know if it's just America or if it's other countries too, where if we think somebody is a certain religion, or we share that commonality with them, as we're Westerners, we have a dominantly Christian culture, then all of a sudden we have to be on their team.
Yeah.
We say, Catherine, things are nuanced and two things can be true. There are terrible Christians out there, right? Like, and so I wanted to bring that up about this enterprise of Christianity that they're working with this ghost of Charlie, who's worth more dead than alive. And Erika, even though she's raking in the billions of TP USA, which is a nonprofit and they're worth billions, I don't know if she's actually benefit at this point. I would guess she might not be actually the one benefiting, because I think she is under control. And so is there anything you want to add to that before we get into the whole shit show of her family, Catherine?
I like what Brian's just said there in terms of, what if she's breaking and coming out of the MK Ultra. And this is the problem that they've got in TP USA. And you can see, look, we all know the saying that you can't be offended by something that doesn't ring true a little bit with you. So if Brian says, Catherine, you look like a big purple elephant, I'm not going to be offended by it at all. But if Bryce says something that hits a little bit too close for home, then I'm going to get offended about it. And it's very interesting when you see what Turning Point USA are really reacting to. We haven't seen much reaction from Erika at all. In general, she's kept a pretty dignified silence. Apart in the interview, she still stayed pretty far away from it, apart from the one with that awful woman who I don't know her name, Barry Weiss or something. That so I think this is the issue. Is I heard something today on another podcast where they said the thing is the truth doesn't need you to defend it. The truth is there whether you believe it or not, but lies need constant defending. And there's too many things, even whether Charlie's dead or not, none of this stops the fact that everyone should be asking really deep, important questions. And I think it's very telling how long it took to even start to question Erika. Candace only got to questioning Erika and other people, not just Candace, once they'd already gone down the rabbit hole and all clues lead in a certain direction to that family and Tyler Boyer's family.
I was about to say, out of everyone, he is
the one that
super evil. He seems to be super evil to me, whereas Erika might just be a victim. And I want to do a whole deep dive into him personally. And I never really followed TP. I knew what it was. I knew but this has made me very curious. And I was even texting you, Catherine, about some of the names I found that help back Charlie. And I'm like, I want to do a deep dive into these people too, because this is crazy. So we start off Erika Lane Franze. I hope I'm saying her name right. I'm not Swedish. Catherine's not Swedish, but we did learn some Swedish, didn't we, Catherine, in the first episode? Actually, I think so. I don't think she's capable. Even if he is alive, I don't think at this point she's truly capable of loving a man because I think her mind is so broken that I think that she's so when your mind is that broken, I don't think you know how to actually interact with humans on a emotional level, as Elizabeth Lane spoke about in I think she is a psychopath because I think she's been made to be one. Now, is there hope for healing? According to Kathy O'Brien, there is, right? So that will be we'll get when she's ready to go through that will be her decision. But right now, I believe she has been trained to be a psychopath, and I believe her mind is so broken that I don't even think she knows what's going on half the time.
Mm.
That's my opinion based on what. Now, trust me, going into this with Candace, I thought Erika was just a terrible human being and she knew what she was doing. But after all the evidence that Candace presented, the first thing you and I said to each other was like, oh my God, this is a Britney Spears situation.
Yeah.
We said that was so now that Catherine was right. So in the United States, as in most first world countries, I'm sure it's true in the UK as well. When you have court filings like birth certificates, wedding licenses, they have to be right. And they have to be notarized. Like you might have one document that might have like one minor clerical error. But Candace, what she has found is 4 different marriage dates.
Yeah.
Drastically different marriage dates between Kent Franze and Lori Abbas. Was that her mother's maiden name? One was from like 1995. One marriage license was done on the same birth date as, like, why would you get married on your daughter's 7th birthday? Like this is why these things matter. This is why I'm gonna block this person because you don't call people names. This one right here, we don't call people names. That is, we don't bully, we don't call people names, and so you are going to get banned because we don't do that on this channel. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, so let's get it. So we have all these we have 4 different dates for marriages. Now I want to talk about, and I'm going to say, guys, go watch episode 1. I made a list. I had to sit down, you guys, because Candace brings so much information and so many dates that I had to make a list, multiple pages, just of the first 2 episodes. And I laughed. I feel like that meme of that guy with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth, pinning thread to the conspiracy theorists, because y'all, I had to make a chart to figure out what Candace was saying about Erika's birth and who her biological parents could be. Mm. So let's go. Should we go through this, Catherine? Because I found this.
Yeah, I think it's quite important because again, there's a huge difference between gossip and evidence. And the fact of the matter is like, if someone is completely lying, voluntarily or involuntarily, about their whole existence, then of course that's going to shed light on everything else that they're doing. So this matters because look at how that plays out to what's going on globally at the moment. How many of our so-called politicians, presidents, prime ministers, regardless of what you call them, in different countries are actually who they say they are? And once you start digging, most of them aren't.
Yes, no, there aren't. And I'm going to say, so Rhonda, I feel Erika's under, however, that is not explained. Actually, I think that explains absolutely why she is going against everything, because I think she is under MK Ultra. That's what I think. I think that's why. Now Tyler and the rest of them, I don't think that they're under. I think they're just evil.
And also, you know, again, this is based on the evidence we've got so far. Something could come out this week that shows that she is evil, or she's being blackmailed or threatened, or there's so many different you know, things that could come out of this investigation. But the one thing that is very clear is there are a lot of lies being told and a lot of false backgrounds and false histories, and that should be a red warning flag for everyone. I mean, look, you know, people who are skeptical, if you suddenly found out your husband or wife or partner had completely lied about their whole background, are you telling me that wouldn't be a red flag for you?
Oh, I would leave Todd if I found out he had lied about everything.
Yeah.
He hasn't, but you know, that it's just, but I don't even think it goes back to that. Does she even know she's lying?
Yeah.
And you guys, so we know that Erika is partially, yeah, that could be the MK Ultra, because part of that is that, right? And so
It's a good point.
yeah, she kind of told on herself, and that's why we all learned a little Swedish. More far and far far. So in the English language, yes, we have nicknames for Lolly, Gigi, Pop Pop, like different nicknames for our grandparents, but a grandmother in the English language does not specify father's mother or mother's mother. It's just your grandmother, right? Grandfather, same thing. That's generically the English language. In Sweden, however, and if we have any Swedes in the chat, fill us in even more. They're very literal. So they'll say more far for mother's father and far far for father's father, more for mother's mother, and far more for father's mother.
Which was really good system, I think. It makes it much more straightforward. Yeah.
You don't have to ask dad's mom, mom's mom, like paternal or maternal. You don't have to ask. So I know people in English speaking in America will say, well, my Watson, like for it'll be either the Watson granddaddy or my Bryce is my mother's maiden or the Bryce granddaddy. So some people will do it like that by last names. But Erika has posted in multiple posts, and Candace shows this, where she has referred to her father's Kent Franze, the man who is technically they're saying is her father, calling him Morfar. Now, her Morfar, her grandfather, is an immigrant from Sweden. So this isn't like some lost in translation, maybe, some Swedish heritage, but we kind of got it a little wrong. No, he is a Swedish speaking. This is where he was born, immigrated. And as the Swedish viewers for Candace said, they wouldn't get this wrong. It would be like calling your uncle, your grandfather, your uncle. They would get it right. So now Candace also said something was interesting, which also leads to this, is because there is a post Erika made about Zion's gate in Jerusalem, where she posted that this lady had moved to Israel and she was right in front of her family's gate. But the family that she's claiming her family's gate wouldn't be her family if her two parents that claim to be her parents are actually her biological parents. So this sent Candace on a detective, a DNA 23andMe ancestry. Like, as the comment said, I want to piss Candace off enough so she'll research me so I can know where I come from. So I made a family chart. So the Franze side of the family, her last name, you have Elaine and Carl Franze. They had 3 children. Kent, their son, who is claiming to be Erika's father, a daughter named Kendra, and a daughter named Carla. Now, poor Kendra, she kind of sits. I want to know more about Kendra because we don't talk about Kendra. So finding this out, and with the Jerusalem stuff on the side, Candace goes, now if Carl is her Morfar, is her mother's father, between the 2 sisters, she is suspecting that Carla would be Erika's biological mother. Carla. Kent would be her biological uncle. Okay, are we following? This is some Jerry Springer shit. Like, are we following this? So Carla is married to a man named Jack Solomon, a Jewish guy. Okay. Jack, before he married Carla, was married to a woman named Edna. Edna and Jack had a daughter named Diane. Diane married a man named Alan and had a daughter named Nicole Rothstein. Now, the Rothstein is the family at Zion's gate. Does that make sense? Am I making sense, guys? I know, again,
yeah, I'm doing my little chart as we speak.
I mean, I had to. This is the dry erase border I use to look at when I'm doing filming exercise videos, where I write, this is what was used for. So I had to write this out. So Nicole Rothstein is Jack Solomon's biological granddaughter from his first wife. So if Nicole and Erika are related, that would mean, and Carl is her morphar, speculating here, that would mean that Carla and Jack Solomon are actually Erika's parents, not Lori, right? So that would mean that Erika and Diane are half sisters, different mother, same father. So that would make Nicole Erika's niece. Now she calls her cousin. I think they're around the same age. And so I can understand why, maybe semantics, maybe that's, but that would technically be her niece. Okay. And then that would make her blood related to the Rothsteins through Nicole, through her sister's marriage, which goes down to Zion's Gate. Are we following? I know this is why I had to write it down, because listening to Candace, I was like, oh, these are a bunch of names. I had to go and write it down. So Kent would then be Erika's uncle. Okay. Now Lori was his second wife, but Jerry was his first wife. And that is where we've got this. See, you guys, if you, please subscribe to the Sacred Secret Society. Sister cousins are real because of polygamy. I was about to say she's our ex-Mormon, guys, and there's a lot of Mormon shit in this.
A lot.
So through Jerry, who was Kent, Uncle Kent, who's also aka Daddy Kent's first wife. And it's, I mean, is there anything you want to say with that before? Because it's just,
I mean, the whole thing, it made me laugh about this, makes me feel like I'm following the Hotspur family tree.
Yeah.
The whole point is for me, it's the level of deception. And when, you know what that saying, oh, what tangled web you weave when first you practice to deceive.
Yep.
It's really hard to keep lies going like that. Now, of course, people do, you know, I know people who sort of, well, do I? No, I don't, actually. I was going to say, do I know someone that calls someone their cousin when they're not any blood relative? I don't, actually, at all. But I have heard people say that some people do that to best friends, sort of thing. It's very, very weird, but, you know, we're all weird, aren't we? But the whole point is when you dive deep into this, first and foremost, I know you were saying, and I think it's a very important point, when you start looking at what all these people have been up to, but the thing that really stands out for me is Lori, the one who's meant to be her mum. And when you start looking into her background, it's so dodgy. And the fact that they can't even get the date of your child correct is a pretty big red flag.
Now, I have my own speculations with Lori too. I think Lori is that's Lori, her handler, but I also think there might be a biological relation because they do kind of there is some resemblance. Now, that could be put on, like they could be dyeing her hair blonde and making her appear to look like Erika. But I believe that Lori is 100% her handler. And it goes, you guys, because Lori Abbess, who was born 1950, named after her grandmother Loretta. Candace was hysterical about this. Like, I don't think my ancestors are this interesting. Lori's grandparents, Erika's great grandparents, were arrested, and she showed the newspaper clippings. She showed everything for running numbers, meaning running fake lotto tickets, basically. To the point where her great grandfather, Lori's grandfather, Mason Abbess, was actually in a police chase where all these fake lottery tickets are. I mean, Catherine, is your ancestry that interesting?
As far as I know, mine's so boring. I have to make it up. You know, so it's really, really boring. And I think this. I mean, you've really got to listen to the full story to realize how ridiculously complicated it is, how many ties there are to really weird companies, how her mother, Lori, goes from being a model to a high-tech technical genius getting multi-billion-pound contracts from the government, how they've all got links to army personnel who happen to be in Romania after the regime change, and there's ties everywhere to child
transportation. Yeah. Yeah, it's we're just gonna steal Sean Atwood's words. Transportation.
Yeah,
It's
transportation. Yeah.
and we see gambling, running horses. The Franze, Carl Kenneth Franze, lived from 1922 to 2016. He ran horse races. And he was an executive at the American Banknote Companies in Illinois when he came to America. They were big for printing lotto tickets. Do you guys have the lottery?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
But it's been back and forth. Like we pull different states have different. So we have Lori, whose family is notorious outlaws, like thugs, like Loretta's out there in the 40s, like thugging lotto tickets, who's Erika's handler, I believe, hypothetically, is her handler. Kent's father, and Carla's father, made a bunch of money printing lotto machines. Let's see here. Let me go back. And then we have, Carla. Now let's talk about Carla and Jack. So if Carla is mom, Aunt Mom, and Jack is Uncle Daddy, Jack, this is where I got chills. Guess where Jack went to school, you guys? Jack Solomon. He went to Utah Valley University, right where Charlie was taken out. Mm-hmm. He's not Mormon. This is a huge Mormon state, but he's not Mormon. He did work at BYU for Jewish Studies. He created the Center for Jewish Studies at Utah Valley University. And guess what, you guys? 1968, Jack Solomon, who allegedly could be Erika's biological father, got rich by creating a company that, guess what, made slot machines. All right, here's the thing too, you guys. I have to be careful how I say this. There's a lot of power in Nevada. Las Vegas, Nevada, Reno, Nevada. It's a huge gambling state and party state. It was settled and made big by what? The mafia, organized crime. We think of the mafia as being predominantly Italian, Irish. But there's a lot of research now to show, no. They're actually, we'll say for lack of a better word, Khazarian Zionist. Mm. And then we've got Jack Solomon, who's contributed to this. Then we have her going, I mean, you guys, have
you got onto the famous baseball or basketball coach that is?
Oh, I don't even know if we'll get
there. Later interview. We'll get onto that next week.
Because I got Project Looking Glass here because I'm still trying to figure this out because the school. Let's see. My mom worked at UVU for years. She thinks I'm crazy for thinking there was something nefarious that happened with this. Yeah, there's some weird connections there. And as Candace said, if you have Carla and Jack still technically live in the area, why wasn't anybody with her family there with Charlie? Like if let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say Carla is her aunt. Let's say Candace is wrong, even though all of the can you guys hear me? Gail says that there's no sound. Can you guys hear us? Can you hear me, Catherine?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, so Gail, I think it might check your sound, Gail, because I think everybody else can hear. But let us know, guys. Not today, Satan. Not today, Project Looking Glass. So we have, okay, awesome. So I'm going to read you guys, we all know what Project Looking Glass is, but let me give you the Google definition. So a top secret 3-letter agency or military initiative designed to view, predict, or manipulate future timelines using advanced technology like, drumroll please, AI. They were working with AI to get a prediction of outcomes. So there was and I didn't know anything about this, the Bush family, along with other big names we know that are a part of this club, they started these schools called Tesseract schools. Mm-hmm. Now, this comes from the book A Wrinkle in Time. Did you guys have to read A Wrinkle in Time, Catherine?
No.
We did, it's a big American novel. We read it in like middle. It's young adult. It's like middle school. I think I read it twice actually, and So Madeleine Allingle is the woman who wrote A Wrinkle in Time. She's no longer living. And I remember when I had to read A Wrinkle in Time for school, my mother going, oh, she's a big Christian. And so it struck me. Because people say, oh, A Wrinkle in Time, this is like a big, it's kind of like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, where it's like this guy's a Christian and he's writing. But A Wrinkle in Time, like, what are you talking about? There's nothing. It's about time travel. Like, it's about jumping dimensions, kids who jump dimensions, right? That's what the book is about. With a Tesseract. The Tesseract is what they use to jump dimensions.
Oh,
So
right.
I started to, last night, I mean, there's so much to cover, guys. I started to look a little bit into Madeleine Allingham. She has ties to Switzerland. So now I'm questioning Madeleine Allingham. Rest in peace. Like, I don't, it's this whole cast of characters is questionable now. This gang of thugs, down to Madeleine Allingham, who wrote A Wrinkle in Time. So this Tesseract they use in the book is the device they use to actually time travel, to get into the wrinkle. And I watched last night, they made a movie of A Wrinkle in Time a few years back. Reese Witherspoon's in it, Oprah Winfrey's in it, and I rented it on YouTube for like $3, and I watched just to remember the full story, because it's been like 30 years since I read the book. And the fact that these big families now, okay, we also talk about the Bushes are opening up these, sorry for jumping, guys, there's just so much, and interrupt me, Catherine, if you have anything you want to say. But the fact that the Bushes are behind these Tesseract schools that are looking glass schools, we get into Barbara Bush, who allegedly is the daughter of Aleister Crowley. We've known that. That's been a speculation for a while now. But Daddy Bush, her husband, who was one of our presidents, let me know if I'm incorrect, Americans, but wasn't he one of the ones that started the 3-letter agency? That started the C and the I and then you have the A, right? He started it. So this is, and that now they're doing this Tesseract school, which is about basically from my opinion, what it sounds like is from the very beginning, they're MK altering children to use the child's ability to jump timelines and to be able to. What do you think, Catherine? I mean, it's so
well. I've never heard of the book. We don't, it's not on our curriculum at all over here. But there were a few things that came out of that to me. So the Looking Glass schools, I can't pronounce the T schools because never heard of that word before. It was pretty obvious from the investigations. Well, first and foremost, quite a few of them closed through very dodgy funding, where millions went missing. But secondly, in terms of what they were being taught there, who here, put your hand up virtually if you went to a Looking Glass school? I don't think many of us did. And actually, when you go back to some of the stuff that has been said about Charlie, about having prophetic dreams, about, hi, thanks, Jelena, about having prophetic dreams, about how lampposts switched off as he went past. There's a huge uprising at the moment, if anyone listens to the telepathy tapes, of understanding that young children, but also, for example, non-verbal autistic children, can absolutely communicate via telepathy. I mean, I've been working with animal communication for years, so I 100% know how easy and possible that is. But also, it's not just in terms of sending information out, it's also about seeing into the future and things like that. So, of course, it makes sense that you would be doing this, as they've shown throughout the MK Ultra program, to pick children and train them in those techniques. And then when you let them loose in society, they've got all these extra skills that are hidden to most people. But for me, it was very interesting, Bryce, that Charlie seemed to have a lot of those skills. Yeah. Now, he didn't go to one of those schools, but he will come on to this in another episode about how he was miraculously spotted and pulled into the limelight. There's a lot of synchronicities here.
I went to a charter school, I believe, which actually, so in the United States, because I know we have people, we call our government schools public schools. I know that you guys call our private schools would be your public schools, but so government free schools. So I went to a private school. So this never happened to me, but it happened to Todd. They were testing people with high IQs, and they would do things like hold up, a blank sheet of paper with a drawing on the other side and have the kid tell them what the drawing was. Like, that's remote viewing. And Todd was tested, and Todd got pulled, and he was lucky in a sense because his family was in the military. So every 4 years they moved anyway, but his parents wouldn't let him do the program, which I think saved him. But a lot of people remember, and they didn't do that at private schools, but a lot of people remember who went to government schools. Most people do go to government schools, being pulled and being tested. And I think that's what happened to Charlie. He was put into what they call a charter school. So it's like probably a step down from a Tesseract school. Now these Tesseract schools are nowhere to be found. They got rid of all the evidence that these schools ever even existed, which is wild.
But there was obviously some very dodgy funding connections going in and out of them, which again, for anyone that's watched the Candace episodes, is pretty key. I mean, again, that's not normal for the school system to have that sort of money laundering effectively going on.
I mean, you might have in a lifespan, you might have one or two really bad things happen to you. But Erika's just batting 1,000 at this point. It's like her whole life is one scandal, which makes me feel bad for her. We haven't even gotten to Jerry Franze. I hope I'm saying the last name right. I'm not Swedish, so apologies if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. But Kit's first wife, who was heavily involved in gender studies, who came from a very powerful Mormon family. She got into, we have Quaker Oats. Do you guys have Quaker Oats?
Yeah.
Okay. She worked for Quaker Oats, and as Candace was so funny, oh, how wholesome. She's working for Quaker Oats. They couldn't possibly be involved except for that one time where they were going into mental institutions, Quaker Oats, and force feeding male patients radioactive oats to see what would happen to their brain. So she was behind all of this. She moved to Paradise Valley with Kent, and they divorced. This is where the Tesseract School was located. She starts to work for the DuPont family, big name in the Illuminati.
And can I just say that DuPont came up very early in the investigations, because the town where the so-called shooter came from, all of that town was virtually owned by DuPont. So again, there's synchronicities, and there's this many synchronicities.
I mean, it is. I mean, like, I am so boring. My life is so boring compared to Erika's. They talk about the Mormon missions, which Lorraine can speak more on that. They send Mormons out on missions in Romania, how that connects to Eastern Europe with the Romanian situation. And her and Jerry Franze, she is connected to John Money, who I remember that. Well, I remember this case being talked about, where John Money was big behind gender studies. He is one of the people that has convinced us, not us, but some people, that gender is fluid. That was his thesis. So what had happened, he got proven wrong, drastically wrong. There were two twin boys that were born, and they were circumcised. And for one of them, the circumcised got botched. And so John Money decided that they were just going to turn that boy into a girl, because gender is fluid, no big deal. He'll just be a she now. Well, this boy that got turned into a little girl at birth, ended up unaliving himself because he was a boy.
Yeah.
Being forced to be. So she was friends with him, you guys. She was friends with him, Jerry Franze. This is, on paper, this is Erika's dad's first wife. I believe this is Erika's uncle's first wife. And they still all work together. And at this point, Catherine, I don't even think Lori was ever actually married to Kim.
No, they haven't found any details yet of confirmation. Yeah.
It's I'm trying to think of, because we're at an hour, guys. There's just so much. Oh, one thing I wanted to bring up before I forget is the hospital that Erika was born, where she was born, Good Samaritan Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. Sorry, Cincinnati. I know the group is people are the joke is people call Cincinnati Pissinati. I actually like Cincinnati. I've driven through it multiple times. It's very hilly. But Cincinnati, she was born at a old Marine hospital, right? Which the connection to the Marines is just insane in this case as well. And then all of a sudden the Marines decided they were going to gift it to the Catholic Sisters of Charity. Well, here's the thing. This is how sneaky they are, Catherine, because I will go and check this stuff myself. Right? Like we always research everything. Well, if you look up the Good Samaritan Hospital, it says nothing about it being at one point a Marine hospital. And they and some websites like, oh, there's this conspiracy that it was one point a Marine hospital where they were doing, they got in trouble because they were doing unethical experiments on human brains. But then I went about it a different way. And I decided, instead of looking up Good Samaritan, I decided to look up the United States Marine Hospital in Cincinnati. And this is Wikipedia.
Mm.
And on this Wikipedia page, it talks about how they did donate it. They did. So you have to be careful about how you research, because you'll go down one road and they'll try to steer you. But if you back up and go the other way, you might find the correct information.
And this is so, so important. And this is why this is why I think the questioning that Candace is doing, whoever Candace is doing, the whole point is, as a society, we've been brainwashed to not ask questions and to think questions are confrontational. Well, I'm old enough to grow up to know what proper journalists used to do, and they used to be independent and ask really difficult questions. And now this is it's too much for most people to handle, and that's all by design, because if you're not prepared to keep an open mind and keep asking questions, how easy is it to hide all of this from us? And
so easy.
I mean, look at what's going on globally now, and look how they can go and tell you about what's happening in one country. Like, I won't bring in Iran, but pick a country. Most of us that have never been to these countries will believe the absolutely cobswallop that we're told on the news, because it suits them to have us to believe that agenda. What we're seeing here in this story is a microcosm of what's happening on a macro level to control all our beliefs, our thought processes, and to keep all the demons in power, basically.
Yeah. And I went, so Forever Free asked, I don't think it's the same university that Charlie was called out, sounding like a small university. No, I just checked when I saw that comment. It's the same. Here is his just his Wikipedia. It's Utah Valley University. So it's the exact same university that Jack Solomon went to and started a Jewish organization. So Jack Solomon is either Erika's uncle or her father. So that is where he was unalived, we'll say, is the exact same university. So, and of course, this is very Mormon land as well. Like, as the Sacred Secret Society can tell you, this is all more. So you got this Jewish guy going to this university in a very Mormon area of America, and he's creating Jewish societies. You got Jerry Franze, who's over there as a big, powerful Mormon family, who is running these experiments with gender. She's running Mormon missions to Eastern Europe. That the Romania thing starts to come into it. And so at the end of the day, I think what all of this is pointing to, Catherine, I just called you Candace. What this is all pointing to is that this is a deeply abused woman. The time we don't even know when she was born. We don't know who her biological parents are. Nothing is adding up.
About the universities, her education career, about how she's even something so simple like how did you get into the pageants. There are so many differing stories from her own mouth about that. So this isn't hearsay of other people. These are recorded interviews with Erika. Now, you could get it a bit wrong, but not this wrong. When she said, I gave up all this and, I stopped doing pageants. And then you've got the evidence of all the years that she was still doing it. So you are talking major glitches, either in her memory or major lies, whichever side of the fence you sit on there with that.
And it's too many. Every once in a while, somebody misspeaks because they can't remember the year they might have done something, whatever. But this is so much misspeaking.
Yeah.
And I'm going to admit something, and I have to just apologize beforehand to my cousins. But I went through last night or yesterday, and I did a background check on myself, my sister, my parents, and my cousins. People that I knew for sure. I knew dates. I knew who their parents were. I know where they lived, just to see if there was any incongruency. I looked up 11 people yesterday, including myself. No, it was all legit. So that's 11 people that I know for sure. I know when they were born. I know where they live. I know who their parents are. I know this all for sure. No incongruency with any of those 11 hits. How come this one girl, if there was one mix-up, one typo, one clerical error, okay, that was just human error. But how does this one person have so many things wrong on these government files that are, and the fact, Candace talked about how there was a separation sheet put into one with a different date that wasn't notarized. You can't do that in America. You can't have it not, it has to be notarized. Like, it doesn't count. It means nothing. So Candace was purporting that she thinks someone put that in there to try to confuse us. But who's putting it in there? Because these are government filings. So this has to be somebody who knows that there is a puppet show going on here, that this isn't. It's crazy. And I just rewatched. I mean, now we're getting into deeply with her. I can't wait for her to go in on Tyler, because that guy creeps me.
That's the one I really want to dive deep on. And actually, I really want to dive deep because I've got loads of things that have come up through this investigation that have come up, questions about some of Charlie's backgrounds, not in a nefarious way. But the thing is, I would also put this out to people. Look, if this many incongruencies have come up about one young woman, take a lot of our presidents, your presidents, our prime ministers, royal families. Look, it's so easy to make up birth dates. It's so easy to forge these things. We all know one of your presidents has got a very dubious birth certificate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the thing is like, what does this tell us about the state of society and where we're at and who's feeding us this information, which one of your listeners said earlier on, in terms of who's feeding the information and why. So this is really, really important for us to sort of take a step back, and regardless of whether we're ever going to be able to prove what's going on with Erika. You know, at the moment, I will say I'm feeling very, very sorry for her, but that could change tonight based on what I hear.
I know, right? Absolutely.
But yeah, I think it's just really important for people to keep an open mind. And just for me, the whole lesson is how important it is that we all question things and don't take things on face value, because it's so easy just to retweet something or reshare something or see a video and say, oh my God. But if we don't dive deep on it, we could be being sent off on a completely false trail. And that's why it's so important to do these investigations.
And I want to say, I want to say that with the whole, like, we have this, as I started with, this is, oh, well, she's a big Christian, as my mother would say. Well, what did we learn over the past 6 years? Anybody can identify as anything, right? Some people don't even think they're their wrong pronoun. So somebody just saying they're something doesn't make it so. Right. So we have to be careful about that. Now, Catherine, something I forgot to do. Can we show your ad quickly for Catherine 5 at Fusion Body Studio, our sponsor?
Oh, yeah, too.
Yeah, you guys, we have chair workouts now. So for the elderly. So hold on one second, guys.
Or anyone who's had an injury or was recovering from something really, really important.
So you can use Catherine 5 to get 20% off your first 6 months. Let me just go ahead and pull that up here. Just 1 minute, guys. Hold on one second. What if 20 minutes a day could help you feel steadier on your feet, more flexible, and more confident in your body? At Fusion Body Studio, we are starting a new series for elderly exercise. These are videos that are designed with care, safety, and real-life movement in mind. They aren't intense workouts like our other videos. They're workouts that are focused on improving balance to help prevent falls, strengthening muscles that support your hips and knees, increasing circulation, and keeping your joints moving comfortably. And the best part? You can move at your own pace in the comfort of your own home. A little consistency goes a long way. Stronger legs, better posture, more energy for the things that you love. And it's never too late to build strength. It's never too late to move. Join us today at Fusion Body Studio and use discount code Catherine5 at checkout for 20% off your first 6 months. Your body was made to move, and we're here to help you keep moving safely and confidently. All right, you guys, so make sure if you want to join us, use Catherine 5 for your first, or for 20% off your first 6 months. You also get your first 7 days for free just to try it out before your card is charged. And that work at Fusion Body Studio and our awesome students over there is what keeps the work going here on Esoteric Atlanta, because we don't make diddly squat on the YouTubes. So we don't make anything. So thank you guys for all of our students. We have so much fun over there as well at Fusion Body Studio. We've got Catherine has some interviews over there as well about her biology, all of her stuff. And all of her links are down below too. So if you're new here, please make sure you check out all of Catherine's links. Next week, we're going to be over. We alternate every other week, depending on, we might still be talking about Erika. Who knows? Depending.
Yeah, we'll pick whatever's current at the time. And we're always really happy for suggestions as well. So if you as the listeners have got things that you want us to have, these coffee chats are such fun for us because, again, we're not pretending to have the answers. We're just literally chatting through with you and saying, I'm hoping I'll be able to go live with them on my channel fairly soon as well.
Yeah, it's nice going live because, guys, editing is a bitch. So it's hard.
Time consuming. Yeah.
So time consuming. So let's see, before we sign out. So if you guys are following the Lou stuff, we are going to be doing a live on Todd's channel, The Confused Wanderer, at noon today, Eastern time. So in like a little under 2 hours from now, if you want to join us for a public channeling with Lou on The Confused Wanderer on his YouTube channel. And then we're going dark on my channel tomorrow, but on Saturday, we have a members only simulcast with Todd's members and my members with Lou as well. So if that's something you're interested in, if you've never joined us for that, feel free to go over to The Confused Wanderer at noon so you can at least watch. It's just fun. It's fun. So you got to have a little fun in this world with all the crazy, awful things going on. I mean, listen, guys, at least we can all sit down tonight and be like, at least I'm not Erika Kirk. Right? Like,
absolutely. You know, gratitude goes a long way. And, you know, I think a lot of people here have got empathy for everyone involved in this. But I think for all of us, there's too many secrets that are hidden. And then the truth starts to come out. 70 years later, look at all the assassinations. We'll just point you, if you want to talk about that sort of thing, go check out my latest interview with Ole Damagard, who is the false flag expert. That's on my YouTube channel, because we cover some great stuff, but very importantly, not just like, here's the hard facts, this is what we can learn from things. So, but let us know. And I think, you know, I'm listening in because for me, it's putting a lot of the bigger picture about what's going on globally into some context, and also making us all, it's always good. There's no downside to looking into how easily we can be fooled, and it's really good to have other people in your life that can point out a different point of view. You don't have to agree with it, but at least consider things that are outside your norm.
One of our favorite quotes from Aristotle, it's a sign of an intelligent mind when you can entertain an idea without accepting it. So all the people who won't refuse to listen to Candace, it's a sign of an intelligent mind when you can entertain a night. So I would beg you to reconsider your stance and at least listen to what she has to say, you know? So anyway, so, all right, you guys. Well, thank you so much. We've had such a great chat. We got
brilliant contribution. Thanks everyone who's joined us. We really appreciate each and every one of you.
Apps. And for the replay crew, let us know your thoughts. Do not name call. I blocked a couple of people. I don't put up with name calling.
Yeah.
That's abuse, and that's beneath us. So thank you so much, Robert. I really appreciate that. So make sure for our replay crew, let us know your thoughts. Is there something that stuck out with you in at least the first couple of episodes? Because we haven't even gotten into really into Lori and her shit show business. Like, I mean, it's crazy, but let us know down below, you guys, and make sure you go and watch Candace's episode. So all right, you guys. So
bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.